Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Estate Right Now. My name is Jay Izzo, and we talk about real estate matters that matter to you. Oh, man, we interview some of the best and brightest top real estate professionals and related real estate professionals to help you understand what's going on in the world of real estate right now, whether you're a seller, whether you're a buyer, and maybe something that you should know that maybe you didn't know about somebody who does something to help you sell your home or buy your home. Well, my first guest, and he has been on before, he is a real estate professional. He is a listing specialist and buying specialist with Linda Crafted Team Realtors. His name is Tony Fink. And Tony, remind people how long you've been doing real estate.
Yeah, Jay, thank you. And I know ratings were down and we're trying to move them up. So you had me come back. So that hopefully will help. So please tell all your friends out there that there's this great show on real estate. But Jay, to your question, I've been in real estate 34 years. And personally, I've owned 13 homes and sold 11. So when you think about it, I understand how the average person feels when they're buying and selling, because all that was before I became a real estate agent.
So a lot of people are reading a lot of different things about the market. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to read. You know,
Sure.
I mean, I subscribe to a number of periodicals and I read them. And of course, a lot of things come across my desk about, real estate. And one of the things that came from a prominent journal, who we won't mention right now, but they talked about there might be the possibility of a real estate bubble. And they started giving some percentages on whether this is a good time to buy or a good time to rent versus buying. And so when you see something like that, what's your first response and how do you respond to that?
Jay, I thought you were going to hit me with a harder question. Like, Tony, are we about to go into a real estate bubble? Because that's all you see in the headlines.
Yeah, that's true.
Or what does the infamous R word mean? Right. So let me try and answer your question as best I can.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of home ownership for a lot of reasons. A home is the only investment that you can actually live in. And you should think of a home as exactly that, a home. In a normalized market, houses will typically go up 2 to 4%. Our market has gone up much higher than that. But you always have to look at your own personal situation and what would be causing you to consider to buy, consider to build, or consider to sell. So with all the increase in information about pending recession, interest rates are up dramatically, and they are. But is home affordability still there, and does it make a good decision for someone to buy? I personally think it does, because most families, most individuals accumulate the most of their wealth through home ownership, through real estate. Obviously, your job provides income, your 401k provides some retirement, but when you look at your wealth, your real potential for wealth is in owning real estate.
So I know that there's these factors that they use to say, this defines what a real estate bubble, and this defines, they have all these numbers that define that. You're feeling that we're really not in that real estate bubble, even though that's what they're saying?
I don't believe we're in a bubble right now, and I own my home. So if we were in a bubble, and I just told you I'm not afraid to buy and sell, I would sell my house. And you guys will be the second to know if I put my house on the market. I don't believe we're there because pricing is well substantiated by income levels. And what's really interesting is it seems expensive compared to the last year. And it certainly is. When interest rates go from 2.65% to over 6% where they are today on a 30-year fixed rate, it is more expensive to buy today. But that's a different question of, can I afford to buy? And the other question you should ask yourself as an individual or a family is, can I afford not to buy? What am I leaving on the table? And then the natural outgrowth of that, which we could explore if you want to, is, well, if I buy at the top of the market, what happens? Am I a fool for doing that?
So, all right. So then let's explore those questions. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the last one first. So let's do, if I am at the top of a market cycle and I buy a home, what happens? And I do have some stats I want to look at, and I'll flip them for you. Because I moved here in 2010. And Jay, what was going on in 2010? Was it a robust market? Was it the best time ever to buy a house?
We were in a recession there.
It took some courage, right?
It really did.
So let me show you what happened in 2010. Okay. So when I look at the numbers for our multiple listing service, which is the triangle area of North Carolina, which is a very large area, so you get a good diversity of mix there. In 2010, for the entire year, there were over 27,000 transactions. That was $5.8 billion worth of real estate.
Hmm.
Pretty impressive, right?
I think it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I actually bought a house here in 2010,
Oh, okay. Well,
and I bought it before I sold my house. So it took a little courage. Well, let's talk about what the average sold price was versus the average list price.
all right.
So in 2010, the average sold price was 212,000.
Okay.
All right, and the average list price was 220,000. Wait a minute.
Hold on.
That
Whoa, whoa,
means
whoa.
houses sold below list price.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. How's it sold below list price
You're
on the average?
on average.
Okay.
And Jay, you're probably saying, shut the front door.
Okay. Let me say that. Tony, shut the front door.
Okay, Jay, you bought a house in 2010,
Right.
and then you felt bad, right? It was a
Right.
tough part of the market.
Yeah.
We'd come out of the 2008 halcyon days nationally.
Sadness.
Nationally, we're experiencing a very strong housing
Right.
market, starting to plateau. Now,
Right.
all real estate's local, folks, but plateauing does not mean value decline. It just means rate of growth is slowing. But Jay, you know that house that I helped you buy in 2010?
Yeah.
That cost you 212,000.
Right.
Want to know what it's worth today?
Yeah. What is worth today?
The average sale price today is 441,000.
I doubled my money.
You doubled your money. So, Tony, what do you mean by
So
that?
in 12 years, I doubled my money.
Mhm.
And when I start thinking, I'm just thinking out loud here, but I mean, I'm trying to think of another investment that in 12 years I could have doubled my money.
And lived in none, right?
Right.
No, but that's the real difference, right?
Right.
A home is first and foremost a roof over your head,
Right.
and you can have a home in a rental property, or you can have a home
Right.
in a home ownership property. What a home also is a place where you live, where you have experiences, where you
Yeah,
create
right.
memories.
Absolutely.
But you're absolutely right. So
I'm just trying. I can't think of another investment that I could have done that in.
yeah, and if I go back to 2010, the stock market's probably up as much as well if I pick the right stocks.
Right.
But you've got to have the mental wherewithal to stay in things. And very few homeowners price their homes every day. Like, ooh, what's my home worth? Ooh, what's my home worth? Right? We all do that with
Right.
our stock investments and our 401ks.
Right.
But if I share that thought with you, where I wanted to go with that is nobody has a crystal ball. Some people's crystal balls are like snow globes. Others are a little clearer. But if you are needing a home and you're renting a home or owning a home, if you can afford to buy a home and you have a sense on what you want your lifestyle to be and what you want it to be in the next 3 to 5 years, this market locally in the triangle is one that probably will reward you for that decision. What's interesting about real estate is you always have, unlike other investments, real estate does require cash. It requires cash every month when you make your mortgage payment. Requires cash every month when you put aside money for taxes, for insurance, home improvement. So it's not an investment that doesn't come without the need to feed it. But if you can, as we just looked at, you would have doubled your money. Excuse me. You would have made 200 grand on a 200 grand home that you bought in 2010 in 12 years. That's a pretty nice annualized return.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the great dinners you would have served me,
Right.
and all the fun times we would have had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, yes, we would have had a blast. I know we would have, but I mean, I think, you don't think of it that way. I think sometimes we think either strictly as an investment or we think strictly as this is a place I'm going to live in. But when you think about that, it's the only investment that you live in, unless you live on a boat, but your boat's going to depreciate. So, right. So, I mean, really, where else are you going to be able to have a place that you're going to live in and appreciate?
Well, and I don't know if you're trying to throw a zinger there, because I'm a sailor and I'm a former boat owner.
I know.
I refer to myself as a recovering boat owner, but you're right. Boats require 10% of the purchase price every year to go into it.
Right.
So it's a really good analogy. Right. A house does not require 10%.
Right.
And then when I use that analogy, if you're going to feed it, you're going to pay rent anyway.
Right.
So unless you're living in a van down by the river, you're paying somebody something. So when you pay a mortgage, you're doing two things, which a lot of first-time homeowners don't fully appreciate until they sell their first home.
Right.
One, it's forced savings. Every time you make a mortgage payment, regardless of what's happening in the market,
Right.
you're creating the potential or the reality of equity growth because you're reducing your leverage. Okay.
Right.
Hopefully your home goes up in value. And we've talked last segment that the average home pre-pandemic in the Triangle market in Wake County specifically rose 6.3% every year for 5 years in a row, 2014 to 2019.
Which is unusual because, right? I mean, because it's typically around 3%.
Yep. Somewhere between 2 and 4 is a good national average.
Is a good national average. So so it was above it was twice that, almost twice the national average.
Right.
At what we're at this. And the reason why you think was it just time, or why do you?
No, that's a great question, Jay. What is going on in the Triangle? So when you look at macro markets, and real estate is macro, and I don't want to get too wonky on you, and I do have an English major, so take that with a grain of salt. But we have a growing economic base in the Triangle.
Right.
Job growth, employment growth, income growth. Those are all positive dynamics for real estate.
Right.
So that is what's caused our area to do quite well.
Right.
And there are no signs of that pairing off.
Right.
Okay. So that's one thing to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay. All right. So what was the first? We did the.
So you wanted to ask me about the R word, the recession,
the recession piece, yeah. Because I'm reading a lot of things, just like everybody else does, and you have all these economic folks and folks who are like, I guess, higher up financial folks who are talking a little gloomy. I'm not going to say they're overly gloomy, but they're talking a little gloomy, like, oh, we could be headed. It looks more like we're going to head.
We're going to die.
Well, I don't know if we're going to die, but we're headed for more of a recession.
Yeah. Well, so Jay, I know you know this, but I'll tap into it a little bit. And I meet with lots of consumers, lots of clients. And the one thing I like to do is share my personal perspective, but also my professional perspective. So a really important thing to understand is most humans are motivated by avoidance of pain as
absolutely.
they are towards pleasure.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, most headlines, most news, most eye-catching things typically are fear-based.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Correct. And that's a great analogy. So what I would say is try and understand that's not a criticism, but just understand that about ourselves. And I'm the same way. That's why, when I walked up to the edge of the Grand Canyon, I got really nervous and I didn't go any further because I didn't want to fall off.
Right.
Now,
right.
What's the reality? I was going to fall off was pretty low,
right.
But that human nature took over. Compare that to the dudes who, work for that sports drink that jump off that thing with those spider suits and fly, right? That's at 25%.
Not going to happen.
So when you think about what can happen in a recession, what's really interesting is in the last 6 recessions since 1980, there's only been 2 down markets. So 2 out of 6. If I was a betting man, that's a pretty good odd ratio.
That's pretty good.
Because I know, again, every month I got to write a check to somebody, unless I'm Chris Farley living down by the river in a van.
Right.
And then of those recessions, one was a 1.9% decline. Okay. 1.9% is not meaningful, and certainly not over the average home ownership duration, which is around 7.8 years. The one, unfortunately, we all remember was 2008, 2010, when you bought that $212,000 home.
Right.
Thank you for buying it, by the way.
You're welcome.
And when you're ready to sell and monetize that gain, let me know.
I'll call you.
But that one did have about a 20% reduction in value. So the distinction I would make right now, Jay, goes back into psychology. And this is something maybe we could talk about another time or explore if you want to. When you think about a market, there's different ways that sellers or listing agents assist their client who's selling the home in getting the maximum price. Whenever anyone sells a home, ultimately they want maximum price. Okay. What's interesting, as a market balances out, a lot of more homes will sell at list price or maybe below list price versus when it's a hyper competitive, insanely strong seller's market, like all of 2021 in our market. In that place, when you set list price, you're anticipating to negotiate up from list price. So what am I trying to get at here? You're going to see a lot more homes sell at list price or below list price. But again, that does not mean that they're lower in value.
Got it.
The rate of growth is just stalled, plateaued, slowed down, whatever the equation might be.
That's beautiful. God, you're such a a waft of information.
We can go to Thoreau if you'd like.
No, we are not doing Thoreau, and I'm not doing Tennyson, or I'm not doing any of that. So tell people how they could get a hold of you.
Well, I'm going to throw one more number at you, Jay, because as somebody who really doesn't like math, I spend a lot of time thinking about numbers. And And I do have a banking background, but when you think of home ownership, one of the things to think about is called cost of capital.
Okay.
So if I'm going to spend $100,000 on a house, what is it going to cost me? Right now, it costs you 7.2%. If you want to know more about that, send us in some information, ask for an explanation on loan constants. But for $100,000, it's going to cost you roughly $600 a month. Okay. For every $100,000 you buy.
Right.
So Jay asked, how can you reach me? I'm available to anybody. I'm on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. But more importantly, just give me a call at 919-986-4146.
Repeat that.
919-986-4146. My name's Tony Fink. I will gladly give you all the wealth of my experience and answer your questions. We love to do consultations. You can always reach me as well at tony@lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks, Tony. Tell Angela to come on in here.
I will have Angela come in, and thank you guys for listening.
All right. Thank you. Hey, so listen, just to recap what Tony was saying, right? Listen, I know that you can read a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of stuff and a lot of misinformation that can say, the market is this and the market is that, and the market just, is going into recession. But like Tony said, when you are in a market like this, don't get alarmed. There's a lot of good things happening, and so you need to keep your head straight. And note that even in 2010, when we had a really a down market, that what happened was you doubled your money in 12 years. So that says a whole lot. My next guest is Angela Hawley. She is a closing coordinator. I'm going to have you move up just a little closer to the microphone because I know that you have a much lighter voice than Tony does. So I'm going to have you do that. And Angela, you're a closing coordinator for Linda Craft. And how long have you been doing closings now? I mean, and in general in real estate?
25 years this year in December.
So 25 years this year in December. Okay.
I've done general brokerage, on-site new homes, and closing.
Okay. So, all right. So what does a closing coordinator do?
Well, actually, we do everything to help our clients have a smooth transition once they go under contract, all the way through closing and post-closing. So once the contract is signed, we take it over, and we're just helping continue build that relationship so that they have a great experience throughout the process, and they're kept informed on everything going on.
So, all right. So I think to help the listener understand, like a contract, let's just take it through something. So an agent, it's a seller, and an agent has got a contract on a seller, and do they hand that to you?
Correct. So once everything is, the contract is executed, I take it from there. I give them a call, introduce myself, let them know that I'll be working alongside of our agent to help assist the process because they're in the car, they're showing properties. So I'm here in the office so they can access me all day. I'm at my email, my phone. So anything that they need, it's a much quicker response for me. And so once the contract is signed, I make sure that they know the process as far as utilities, what they're going to do for closing, signing deed docs ahead of time, going over all their final numbers, their proceeds, how they're going to receive their proceeds. So I have a detailed eye on every detail of the process from contract to close.
Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper. All right, so a little deeper here. So, what types of things might you specifically negotiate?
So also repairs. We
So the
negotiate
inspection- so they do the
repairs. The
inspection.
inspection comes through. I will go over the inspection with the seller, and I'll go through all the repairs. And after 25 years of experience, I've looked at a lot of inspection reports. So we just kind of go through and what are, major items that would need to be taken care of. And of course, the difference in the market can kind of fluctuate what repairs they're going to agree to and what the buyers ask for. So I've seen the market adjust. So I've been able to adjust with the sellers with that and recommendations. My recommendations are always to be fair and yet save the seller the most money as possible.
All right, so let's take that a little bit further. So when you're negotiating out, let's say, an inspection report, now are you dealing directly with the other agent?
Yes, so I build relationships with our sellers, the buyer agent, and I don't know the buyer, but after being in the industry for quite a few years, I have, I think, great relationships with agents. So I try to find out what is most important for the buyer to keep everyone happy and moving forward. So kind of working what's best for all parties involved because we want buyers to be happy and sellers to be happy and everyone to have a great experience.
So in North Carolina, we generally there's one attorney, and then both the buyer and seller meet at the attorney's office, or maybe here at this office. Could be anywhere. A matter of fact, could be in a park if they really wanted it to be. Um, then, do you go to that closing?
Used to. I used to go to all the closings. However, COVID changed quite a bit. So attorneys only allowed buyers signing loan docs to attend. So we actually bring our sellers into our office. We have notaries available. And so we have them here. They're familiar with us and our space here. So we have them here. We kind of go over all the closing documents. We have them sign with the notary. We fine tune the details as far as move out, having the house cleaned, if there's any last minute repairs that came up that they weren't sure about, the little questions that they have, what property conveys, making sure that everything is smooth and understood. So,
For you, what is the biggest challenge when you're as I mean, you're closing, or I know, but what do you find? I don't know if it's a regular challenge, but is there been as you've been in this industry long enough, is there something now that's a little more challenging than it was when you first started?
I think the biggest thing now is everyone has access to information. That used to didn't be that we were the experts, which we still are. However, a lot of people read things on the internet and it doesn't exactly apply, or they have someone, a family member, maybe in a different state, and things are done a little bit different. But I think that's the important part of my role is being able to explain everything from beginning to end
Right.
with them and being able to answer any questions that they have and building that trust because they know I'm advocating on their behalf and I'm looking out for their best interest. So it's building that trust and relationship from the beginning.
It's kind of interesting. We love information, right? And the problem is we love information, but it's like, you have an ailment and you go like to WebMD, and the next thing you know, you've diagnosed yourself with something really, really
Right.
bad because having too much information actually can be a
Can be
detriment to you.
Exactly.
I mean, it sounds like that's the same type of thing for
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. And some sellers worry about a lot of things that may be important, but that's the other thing is you have to mirror and figure out what's important to each seller. Some are great email, some never email. So you have to adapt to all those situations. And a lot of people do a text now, which we have that access as well. But the other challenges is just making sure that all the legal aspects are correct. You have surveys that come in and there's maybe issues, title, people have LLCs and trust. Sometimes it's a hard situation. It could be a divorce or a death in the family that you have to be sensitive with, and you have to know what documentation you need heading into closing to relieve some of that stress at the end.
I don't understand how. I know there's agents that do all of this themselves, right? Where they try to do the whole thing, and knowing that this is your full time job, and knowing that you have to do this full time. I don't know how an agent can do a full time job and do. I mean, because there's a lot to deal with for you.
It is. It is. Because when you're selling, I mean, this is the biggest investment of their life outside of their family. So when you're dealing with that, you have to be accessible. People have questions and they sometimes don't have time to wait for hours. If an agent is in a car showing property for hours, I don't know how they're able to get back as quickly as needed. So that's an advantage with coming with the team here is that you have access to me Monday through Friday. And I was actually even texting a seller at 11 o'clock the other night because I have a text app and he texts me and I text back. So, sometimes that's what you do to keep your clients happy. So.
Well, okay. So I know I have heard rumors.
Don't tell Linda that.
I have heard rumors that they've had to tell you sometimes, Angela, you need to go home. I've heard the rumors that you. What just to let people know. I mean, how did this evolve, or you came into this and doing this? Because you had done so many other things.
Mhm.
but you're really good at it. I mean, everybody says that you're really, really great at it. And
Thank you.
so how did it come to be that you decided to do this?
Well, I'm kind of overachiever at heart. But I used to love to go to Parade of Homes or ride around and look in windows, not creepy, but look at houses and designs. And at one point, I wanted to do cancer research, which was, put on the back burner a little bit. And then I kind of looked at doing architect because I love designing houses or looking at floor plans. And I would just get at books and look at books of floor plans. And so my mother-in-law was actually in real estate, and she said, "You should go into real estate."
Mm.
So I was like, hadn't really thought about that. And I did, and it just is my passion. And I'm a people person. So I love people. I love helping people. And we bought a house, and I feel like that maybe there were some things, going through the other side of the fence, that you see some things that were important to us that I think maybe were not, the best. And so that's why I always try to do my best for everyone, not just myself, but what's the best for them.
What a great teacher, right? When you go through it yourself, right? And you kind of go, okay, this didn't go well, or maybe this could have been better, or this could have been better. And then so what you do is you carve your own identity as a closing coordinator, or what didn't happen, or what did happen for you, and that you wish didn't. And so then it changes your perspective on closing houses for people, doesn't it?
Correct. And I think that also the value that I bring is I've been, as an agent, I've been having buyers in my car, riding around, people from out of area, trying to learn all the areas and things that they have to know. I've also been an on-site agent, building homes, $1 million homes. So I've been in high-end neighborhoods, and I've done some, all price points.
Right.
So really, it kind of helps me see both sides. So I know the agents and what they are busy doing. And I'm like, don't worry about that. I have it,
Okay. So if you were to let's say somebody comes in from out of state, and what is the one thing that you typically hear that they go, oh, this is different, I've never heard of that? What is the one thing that you typically hear quite a bit?
Well, a lot of states have title companies instead of closing attorneys. So they don't really quite understand the aspect of the important role that the attorneys play here. Just making sure that the property is free and clear of any liens, or situations that may come up in the future. And so that's one of the big things.
Is there number two?
No, it's just learning the area. And, if they're coming from different traffic areas, or schools is always an important thing here, and hospitals. We're a great area for medical, and we have great schools here. So
I know that there's some states have something called settlement, where I think there's two attorneys involved, right? Where each side has an attorney. We don't do that, right?
don't do that. No, the closing attorney is hired by the buyer, so they're working on that benefit. We do have the seller side is a lot more simple as far as the documents that they're transferring. I get seller information, payoffs, things like that to the closing attorney. I'm a liaison between the agent, the attorney, the seller. So we get all that information and provide it, but it's just one attorney here.
Okay, I know that you were a little nervous about doing this.
I was very nervous.
But can I tell you something? You were fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
And you were really great.
Thank you.
So are you okay if people, like, if they want to reach out and ask you a
Yes.
question, could they do it? How can they get a hold of you?
919-235-6304. I've had other closing coordinators ask me my systems and what I do, and I have shared my information. I'm always one to help other people be their best version of themselves. It doesn't change what it does for me, because I am me. And I'm willing to share any information and help people as much as I can.
Do you have an email address that they can get a hold of?
Yes, it's if you want to do me direct, it's Angela@lindacraft.com.
Angela@lindacraft.com. Angela, you've been great.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
me.
Thanks for being on. I look forward. Well, I'm going to let you go back and do what you do.
Yes, I have sellers waiting for me. So
All
thank
right,
you.
Thank you. Send an Andrew. That was Angela Hawley, of Linda Craft and Team Realtor. She's closing coordinator. Just to recap, a lot of agents don't have closing coordinators. Sometimes, depending on the company, they have to close the properties themselves. And have at Linda Crafted Team Realtors, you have somebody like Angela who can help you close a property for you. So it's a really benefit for you if you want to become an agent and you want a great closing coordinator. Angela is, as my next guest is going to say probably here, is that Angela's actually been a godsend.
She's a god. Wait, is there something that's better than a god? Because that would be Angela Hawley.
She's amazing, isn't she?
That doesn't do her justice. She is a rock star for sure.
She is so amazing, and her demeanor never changes
at all. Literally on and off the job, she is the same fantastic person.
It's amazing to me that she is just so even keeled, and I guess that's what makes her kind of really, really good at what she does, right?
Absolutely, she cares. I mean, it is genuine in her soul. Right. She cares. Family, friends, clients, what she does, passionate about it all.
All right, so we brought you back, and
thank you
for coming back. And we're talking about some buyer story that you have that you've been an agent for how many? 10 years, 14 years,
12 years, and blessed to be on this team for the last 10.
So 12 years you've been doing real estate, and so you have a lot of stories.
I do. And Jay, you're throwing me for a loop. I thought we were going to be talking about feelings today. You said to think of a good story about feelings, and now I get it, because buyers are all about emotions, right? That's why I thought we were going to talk about feelings. But yeah, I'm with you. I got a lot of stories.
All right, so go ahead. Tell us a feeling buyer story.
Feelings. Love feelings. Now, love working with buyers. For me, most of my business is working with sellers. And so when I get the opportunity to work with a buyer, it's usually through a referral. Love referrals, usually past clients, family members, friends, just putting that extra trust in me and Linda Crafted Team Realtors to help someone that they know with their real estate goals and help them in an exceptional manner. And that's ultimately our mission statement, right? It's about making raving fans, people who return to us. Sure. So for me, I love working with buyers, and especially over the last couple of years where things have been a little challenging for buyers, to say the least. Their feelings, it's been a roller coaster for buyers. And for me, I thought about two stories to share with you and our audience today. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all.
There's people out there going,
yeah.
Yay.
Hey. So I thought about two stories that were really relevant because they go to the heart of why a buyer needs to have their own representation.
Okay. All right.
And in our state, the wonderful state of North Carolina, we are a dun 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 buyer beware state.
Oh, right.
So buyers, watch out. If you're listening, give us a call. North Carolina is treacherous for buyers. Even the offer to purchase is an as-is contract.
Okay, whoa. Why do you say it's treacherous?
Treacherous, dangerous. Warning. Because we are a pro-seller state. And our state actually, with the forms and the contracts that we have, are actually more beneficial for sellers than buyers. Okay. And so when buyer agency got really going in our state, it became just beneficial for buyers to really seek out the best representation that they could have to help them on this emotional journey of finding a house. Because that's really what it is for buyers. First-time buyers, buyers that have bought their 8th or 9th home, it's all the same thing. They're building a new chapter in their life that starts with the house. And in the state of North Carolina, there's so many things that could come up with a house, not just from your typical inspections and getting a loan or paying with cash or whatever. There's all these other things that you just might not know about or be aware about. And so having the right representation is key to the whole process. And for me, it goes back to that kind of referral passage. I feel like I'm becoming an extension of someone's family. Right. I'm growing new friends. And to any of my friends listening out there on Facebook, I love you. Thank you so much.
They could be on LinkedIn or Twitter too, by the way.
Love you on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So thank you.
All right, so let's talk. Tell us the story.
Okay, so the first story is about a buyer that I was working with last year, and near and dear to my heart. Love them. We found a house that they were ready to jump on, and unfortunately, they didn't get it. Bummer. A couple weeks later, a new house popped up that was actually even better. worked out perfectly for them, but we were inches away from losing that contract because obviously there were multiple offers on the property. And at that point in time, the buyer wasn't really ready for what they were needing to do in terms of the offer terms to get the house. And I got a call from the agent. Luckily I was able to get the agent on the phone. These days you never know if an agent's going to call you back or, build that communication with you. And the agent kind of filled in the blanks for me for like, look, if we were going to make a decision on your client's offer now, they're not going to get the house.
Right.
And I knew that this house was perfect for this buyer. I knew just from building a relationship with them and understanding their goals and knowing what was going to be the best fit, the best neighborhood, all of the reasons why this house ended up being the perfect house for them. I knew that it would be so detrimental, right? So treacherous for them to not get this house. And so we weren't together, and I had a conference call with the two buyers, and I just really laid it out for them. I said, look, I know that this house is going to be sold to someone else. And what I would suggest you do is really consider going to your max offer price on this house. Because at the very least, you'll at least know you did everything you could to not lose what ultimately ended up being the perfect house for them. But at that point in time, they weren't really able to get themselves over that hump and get to that next level. So after about a 20-30 minute conversation of explaining the pros, cons, and all of the information in between, again, going back to why it is key for buyers to have their own representation, because they knew I had their best interests at heart. They knew that I was looking out for them, not just so that they didn't lose the house, but also so that they still got it on terms that protected them and looked out for them throughout the course of the transaction. And so luckily, they decided to go to their max, and we put in a revised offer. And that night, I still remember it like it was yesterday. This was a little over a year ago. The agent called me, and he was so excited because he was like, you were going to lose that house, and you just barely got it over where the next best offer was. So congratulations. And it's always nice having that congratulations phone call with your client, right? And just saying, hey, look, guess what? We got it.
Right.
And, over a year later, the house has been just perfect for them. They love it. It's awesome. It's been life-changing. And so that's why it's super cool working with buyers. I love working with buyers.
But I don't think people understand, because they want to believe that, this financial decision is a logical decision.
Right.
But it's really not a logical decision. It's really an emotional decision. And, we're pretty emotional about our money.
Yeah.
And what the market has been, because, the multiple offer situation and everything, it can be a very difficult thing, I would imagine, in your shoes. For you to say, okay, you know what, you got to risk, you're going to have to take some risk here. We're going to have to risk, going whatever your max is, we're going to have to risk that.
Right.
That's not an easy thing for a buyer to do.
No, definitely not. And the easiest way to kind of break that down into kind of a human emotion, like let me relate to another aspect of my life into that, why I should do certain things through the home buying process. Think about when you met your significant other, or you met a really good friend, or you did something in your life that changed your life, either from going to college or taking a certain career path. You took a risk.
Right.
You took a leap of faith, and it was because something drove you to that point.
Right.
When a buyer knows that they want to buy a house and they're ready to buy a house, there's certain things that we do as experts who help people with their goals, either from buying or selling, to ensure that they're on the right path before we've even looked at a house. They've gotten in touch with a local top-notch recommended lender. They've done their due diligence in terms of what to expect through the buying process.
Right.
They're ready. So now it's about finding the right house that meets their needs, wants, everything that they hoped that they were going to get into that house.
Right.
And so that's where great agents really know. And at the end of the day, especially in this market where the inventory has been tight, right? There's nothing for sale.
Right.
2 or 3 years ago, you might have been able to expect that another house similar may pop up again in that same neighborhood or that same location. Now, that similar house might take a year or more to come on the market. And so being able to understand your client's needs as well as they understand their needs, you can help get to the bottom of kind of those feelings that really go into buying a house. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Selling a house is business, right? It's
Right,
putting your
right.
house in the best position to make the most money on the
Right.
market.
Right.
Buying a house has so many different facets and ups and downs and everything in between that as a great agent, you have to really navigate through to help your client with their goals
Right.
and ultimately become a raving fan and, give me a bunch of referrals and get to work with their family and friends. And so in this situation, the buyer won the house,
Right.
just barely. And it was all because of that little extra push at the end. Had they not given that extra push,
Right.
who knows? Who knows if they would have found a house?
Right.
Who knows if they would have ended up paying more?
Right.
I mean, you see what's happened with the interest rates just in a
Right.
couple of months,
Right.
right? That could have really put a shock to their system and hurt their goals. And thankfully, they listened and they understood deep down inside what mattered most to them. And that extra $10,000, $11,000 that they ended up putting forth to make sure they didn't lose out on the home
Right.
was well worth it in the grand scheme of things.
All right. So you have a second story.
I do.
Okay. So tell the second story.
Okay, so the second story is similar, but it's different. And it's different in the sense of this particular buyer was a relocation buyer, and they were
Okay.
referred to me from a family member. So thank you very much for the referral. And this, when you relocate to another area, there's always extra things that
Right.
go into any relocation. Where am I going to shop?
Right.
Where am I going to take my kids to the
Right.
park?
Right.
All the other things that go into learning a new area.
Right.
On top of finding a house,
Sure.
there's a lot that goes into it. So with this particular buyer, we had been looking at all different areas and all different potential houses for a really long time. And they finally were at the point where they were comfortable. They knew where they wanted to be. They knew the exact house. They knew the market. And the market was just raging hot, raging hot. This was maybe just 4 or 5 months ago. And we found the right house. It had been on the market a few days, and there were no offers on the house. Zip, zero, none. We couldn't believe it. Amazing house, ready to go,
Right.
priced right.
Right.
And I knew the agent.
Okay.
And the agent and I had a really good conversation, knew where the seller wanted to be, knew
Right.
what we needed to do to get the house.
Right.
And the buyer wanted to go in $25,000 over asking price, which in this market, you're like, that's nothing, right?
Right,
Like
right,
I've heard
right,
buyers
right,
going
right,
100,000
right,
over asking price, 50,000 over
Right.
asking price.
Right.
They wanted to do their best
Right up front.
right away.
Right up front.
No chance of losing the house. Let's do it.
Okay.
Had another conversation with the agent. And in having that conversation and working with that agent before, I knew we had an opportunity to secure this house,
Right.
save the buyer money,
Okay.
and complete their relocation. So it took some risk on my part because the last thing I wanted to do was to hurt this buyer's goals. And this house was perfect. for them.
Sure.
But $25,000 is a lot of money.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
It is.
And if I could save that buyer that money and they could get that house at the purchase price, why not?
Right.
So we devised a strategy to go in with a hefty due diligence fee, keep the price at the asking price. The seller was ready to go. They wanted to take a contract right away.
Right.
And within hours of that seller accepting that buyer's
Right.
contract,
Right.
they had an above asking price offer waiting for them that they weren't able to take because they had already accepted, signed, and delivered the purchase contract for this buyer.
And in the process, you saved your
$25,000.
You saved your buyer $25,000.
$25,000. Again, they trusted me.
Right.
They took my advice, even though it was risky,
Right.
but it ended up paying big dividends for them because at the end of the day, now they're in a house that's already appreciated probably $40,000, $50,000 just in the last 6 months.
Right.
They've made back any of that money that they would have put up, and they already saved it from the jump.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Amazing. And, both of these buyers, I love them. And, hopefully you're out there listening and you know exactly who you are. But it's really fulfilling because, again, they were referrals. They were
Right.
referred to me through someone else. And I always take an extra sense of ownership on those referrals because that's, again, it's an extension of my friends and it's an extension of my family. And that's how I would want to treat my family if they were relocating to the area, or if they were already here and they knew exactly what house they wanted to buy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
loved it.
that's awesome. And I know you work with sellers, a lot of
A
sellers,
lot. Absolutely.
predominantly. And I know that you don't work with a lot of buyers,
Right.
but tell people how they can get a hold of you. Because I know, first of all, the stories are great. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah.
Andrew?
Well, you can definitely slide into my DMs right here in Facebook. So if you want to do that, or you can reach me direct at 919-830-1551 or Andrew at lindacraft.com.
Right. He's
And
the only one.
check me out on our website, www.lindacraft.com. Great testimonials out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so folks, I mean, listen, Andrew's been here 12 years. And I'm just telling you, the things that just keep coming back about him over and over and over again have always just been just how you care, and you know what your care is for your clients and everything like that. And you have these great buyer stories, and you've been doing this a long time, and you've been very successful. Thanks for being on again.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Yeah,
I appreciate the call back.
I guess what, you'll be called back again.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, I love doing real estate right now. This awesome show, great content. And for everybody that's listening, thank you for being a part of this journey with us.
Thank you. Yeah, go get Rhonda. Yeah, see what she'll have to come in. So just to recap what Andrew said, listen, markets change and there's different things in different markets. The truth of the matter is that when you're in a market like this, oftentimes what happens is, it's an emotional market. I mean, it's an emotional buyer's market. It's just an emotional market. And so you kind of have to listen and trust your agent, and trust your agent, and you have to trust them that they're going to help you, guide you the way through. So you know what? Vet out your agent. I'm going to be, my next guest is coming on. Her name is Rhonda Benvie, right? It's Benvie, right?
Benvie Plumber, Rhonda Benvie Plumber.
And Rhonda Benvie Plumber. So it's Help Me Rhonda Interiors.
That's correct.
Is it? I mean, is it Help Me Rhonda Interior Design?
Help Me Rhonda Interiors.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, tell people what Help Me Rhonda Interiors is.
It is a full service design group. So we do everything from remodels to help with when people are building houses for construction, all the way to window treatments, to furniture, lamps, rugs, mirrors, art, anything that you need for your home, I do.
Okay. So how long have you been doing this?
26 years.
Oh, what'd you do? Start when you were 4?
No, thanks, but no.
Okay. All right. All right. So how do what you do? How does what you do affect home prices or selling homes or buying homes? Because I mean, you're involved. I mean, I see you a lot with people who either are getting ready to sell, but I also see when people are thinking about buying.
Exactly.
They bring you in. So help people understand, your role, whether you're a seller or whether you're a buyer.
Right. So I probably on both ends. So sometimes, a realtor, a real estate agent might call me and go, hey, I've got these people and they need to freshen up their house to be able to put it up on the market. They don't want to do a whole lot, but they just need to freshen it up. Can you go over? Sure. So I go over and I kind of show them the points that might help them sell. I'd rearrange their furniture, maybe. Tell them that, it might be cost effective for them to let's update some lighting. Let's update the faucets. Let's update, a few things just to get it a little bit more in this decade sometimes. Right now, I don't think we have that problem in this market.
Right.
But, before the market got so crazy, it could make the difference between a person picking one house over the other. So trying to freshen up paint colors. If their house is dark, let's paint. Let's get the colors neutral. And then I have on the flip side, somebody who's maybe looking at a house. They're not quite sure about a few things. Maybe it's a corner fireplace and they look at it and go, how am I going to arrange my furniture in here? How's that going to look?
Right.
If I decide to buy this house, how hard will it be to knock down this wall and redo this kitchen or to remodel this bathroom? What is there, what would that entail? What can we do here? I have this square box. So what can I do with it? And so I get called in on that a lot too.
So let's go to the seller side real quick, and let's talk about that for a second. So I know, sometimes it can be simplest things that can make a difference.
Right.
And in your 26 years of experience in helping sellers, what have you found been the best return on investment when they do something? What is probably for you that you've changed in a seller's house, and this has probably really been beneficial for them to get the money back?
I think that, and I learned this from Linda. I think that you either need to do everything or nothing. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like, how much, because if you half, do things,
Right.
are you going to get your return back from that? There's a house I'm thinking of, right now that the whole thing needs to be updated. So if you just go in and do the kitchen,
Right.
or, people are going to walk into that and go, that kitchen just doesn't match the rest of this house.
Right.
So you have to decide, I think, as a seller, do I want top dollar, or do I just want to get what I can get and get out of here? Right. And so to get what I can get and get out of here scenario, you could do minor things. Like I said, changing knobs on cabinets, painting, faucets, lighting is huge. Right. Even just like your doorknobs. I mean, stuff like that, because people that come in and they look at people's houses, and maybe, the doorknobs, it's a 1980 house and the doorknobs are still from 1980, they kind of think, you haven't kept your house up. So have you kept up the roof, the AC system? People think about that when they're buying a big investment as a house, right? So, those little things tell the buyer, in my opinion, that, hey, they've updated their doorknobs, right? They have actually changed out their carpet of 30 years and there's not black stuff going all around the edges. You know what I mean? So it's like, those are little things that I, as a buyer, would look at, because, what's the real story of the guts of your house if you haven't kept up those things?
Right.
Plus, why not enjoy your house? If you're in it, keep it updated,
Right. All right. So so the seller side, buyer side do you think that part of your job is really, to help provide a vision sometimes for a buyer?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure. Because let's just say I've got a client that they have found this great fixer-upper. They're going to be able to get it at a really good price. So they might call me, because I do remodels too. So they call me in and go, okay, I can get this house for this amount of, money. How much do you think it would cost for me to fix this up?
Right.
What do you see? What's your vision? Can we knock these walls down? And I'll sometimes even draw up the floor plan. Unfortunately, in this market, you don't have a lot of time to sit back and and think about it, right?
Right.
But normally you do, especially on the fixer uppers. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that I can help them kind of see that vision, and working with a lot of realtors like I do, I get their input as well.
So, I mean, if somebody were to hire you, could you, like, if they wanted to put in new gas lines or they wanted to put in new flooring, could they actually hire you to do, and you could get the contractors to do all that?
Absolutely. Yes.
So you're more than just interior design.
Right.
I mean, you're kind of
right. I'm on the verge of getting my contractor's license, really. Exactly.
Because right, because you have access to all these people that help you do that. But then, like, I know I've seen some of your work, which is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
Your work is amazing.
Thank you.
I live in one.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing. But my neighbors just down the street I've used you to redo, and
I'm working on theirs right now.
Right. And it's gorgeous what you're doing with them. But I think it's really interesting, because sometimes it can be, and that you don't have to sell because you could actually change the look of your house now.
All right. And I think that's what's happened in this particular market. I've had people to call me and go, I'm aging out. We were thinking about selling our house and, downsizing. We need our master downstairs. And I have a client right now that what they found out was they love their neighborhood. They love their house, but they just couldn't keep going up and down the steps. But everything that they were finding, they were going to get more for their house, but they were paying more for less square footage for something else. And so, I got a contractor over there, and we figured out we could add on, a master bedroom on the bottom with the equity that they had in their house. So sometimes I think in a market like this, that's definitely happening too.
So what is the most fun for you in doing this job that you do? I mean, what is it that where you go, this excites me?
From the ground up.
Really?
I like doing, starting the house from the ground up or from the remodel up
Okay.
and being able to do the whole thing.
Okay.
That's my favorite thing.
That's your favorite
know.
thing to do. Okay.
It is.
All right. And okay. So then second question is, we've been in a pandemic,
Hmm.
and we're kind of getting out of it.
Right.
And so what has been the most common thing that you've been requested to do during
Remodels.
complete remodels?
People I think are in their house and going, "Oh my God, I hate my house." You know what I mean? Or
Right.
or they need more function. A lot of people are,
Right.
working from home
Right,
more,
right.
than they were. So they need to convert a space,
Sure.
or multi-use of space.
Right.
The problem that we're having with a lot of things is finding the right, furniture and stuff
Mm.
like that, because that's still, it still takes 7-8 months to get a couch.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, are we still having a problem?
Absolutely.
We are.
Freight is a big, big issue.
Okay.
I think that's what holds up a lot of things.
So people have to be patient.
Very patient. You used to say Christmas in July. Start planning now for Christmas. Well, we have already missed that boat.
That is funny. Christmas in July.
Yeah, that's what we always said. As a designer, this was the time that people were going to start thinking about, okay, we got to get our house fixed up for Christmas. And it was plenty of time.
Right.
But it's not anymore.
Right.
I do have a few lines that we can get a sofa in about, one of them, literally I can get in like 2 weeks. It ships out in about 2 weeks. And then there's another one that's about, 10 weeks. So that's about it, but you have a certain amount of fabrics to choose from.
Right.
So there are, still good quality, but they're just limiting you on your fabrics. But other than that, you're going to wait 7-ish months for a sofa.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you know what? First of all, you are such a natural. I did not have any idea how.
Well, I do another radio show.
I did not know. I did not know that you do another radio show, but you are so good at this. I'm like sitting here going, you know what? I've interviewed hundreds of people. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so good.
I appreciate that.
So you're really good. So tell people how they can get a hold of you.
All right. So you can get a hold of me, either call my office, which is 919-263-9054, or you can go to my website, which is helpmerondainteriors.com.
Right. And by the way, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, you can refer, like if somebody lived in another state, you could refer them to another interior designer, or how do you?
It just depends.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I do, like with my existing clients or even friends of existing clients, I'll go to the beach or go to the mountains, their vacation homes, or whatever.
So what is the area that you cover? We saying
pretty much the whole triangle. Like I've got one as far as Pinehurst.
Okay.
So Pinehurst, Chapel Hill, Raleigh, Cary, Clayton, Pittsburgh, the whole,
But if somebody in Asheboro, North Carolina really wanted you.
It's not that far.
That's
Asheboro. Really.
How about Asheville?
It would be like a good planning. That would be like doing that client's mountain home, right?
Yeah, what if somebody wanted to do a mountain home? Would you go there?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would.
Right.
It's just good planning involved in that, so that you're not making so many trips.
Awesome.
It's just really, you do a lot over the phone, a lot over FaceTime, and stuff like that. But it's like keeping the trips to a minimum. But yes.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Rhonda Benby Plummer.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpmerondainteriors.com. You can reach her. Wasn't she great? I mean, she's really good, right? She does a radio show. Of course she is. Folks, this is the show. It's called Real Estate Right Now. You've been with us. We've had a great time. I'm glad that you join us. Join us every week because we are on every week, and it's Real Estate Right Now. Tell your friends. By the way, this will become a podcast later in the day, so feel free to download us on your favorite podcast player, including iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, and a number of other ones. We'd love to get a review from you, so please give us a positive review. With that said, I want to just thank you all for being here. You know what? You got a lot of choices, but you chose us today. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you next week. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.